Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Get ready to dive into some seriously tangled lives
Right.
and relationships.
Oh, yeah.
We're taking a closer look at the first love myth, based on those chapters you picked. And let me tell you, this book, it doesn't shy away from the messiness of love, betrayal, and the
Yeah.
long shadow of the past.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
It asks a really intriguing question. Can you ever really escape the pull of first love? And what happens when those intense feelings, well, they kind of blind you to the reality of who a person really is?
That's such a good question. And I think what's so fascinating about this book is how it tackles that question, but from multiple perspectives. We have these three sisters, Liz, Zoey, and Cecilia. Each of them is navigating the complexities of love and relationships, but all against the backdrop of their shared family history.
Right. And you sent us a really interesting selection of chapters 1, 9, 10, 12, 13, 15, 18, 23, 24, 25, 30, 36, 37, 42, 48, and 49.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. But they give us these little glimpses into
Oh,
key moments
yeah.
of their own individual journeys.
It really does. The story unfolds like a puzzle almost, where each chapter reveals another piece of information about the characters, their motivations, and the ripple effects of the choices that they make.
Okay, let's start with Liz. Right off the bat in chapter 1. We are thrown into a pretty intense situation. She finds out she's pregnant
Yeah.
after separating from her husband, Julian. Talk about a curveball.
Yeah, okay.
But what's really interesting is how this unexpected pregnancy
Yeah.
forces Liz to confront
Mhm.
the deeper issues
Yeah.
that were in her marriage.
It's so true. It's not just about the baby. It's about Liz realizing that she's been craving a level of emotional intimacy
Right.
and stability that Julian, with all his traveling and emotional distance, well, he just hasn't provided.
Exactly. And we see those cracks in their relationship even more clearly in chapter 10. Liz discovers that Julian has bought a house.
Right.
With his girlfriend.
It's such a gut punch,
Yeah.
not just because of the betrayal, but because it reveals how out of sync they were in terms of their vision for the future. Absolutely. I mean, that scene is so crucial because it just shatters the illusion of this life Liz thought she was building with Julian. It forces her to confront the reality that their relationship wasn't as solid as she believed it to be.
And it pushes her to start thinking about what she truly wants
Yeah.
for herself and for her child.
Right.
It's like the pregnancy, as unexpected as it is,
Yeah.
becomes a catalyst for her to finally prioritize
Yeah.
her own happiness and well-being.
Absolutely. And this theme of seeking emotional security, well, it plays out in really interesting ways throughout the entire book, not just for Liz, but for her sisters as well.
Let's talk about Zoey, the youngest sister. Her situation. It's a whole other level of complicated. We learn in chapter 1,
Yeah.
she's in this intense, almost obsessive relationship with Andrew.
Yeah.
The same guy who cheated on Liz with her best friend.
Oh my goodness.
Ah.
Talk about complicated.
I know, right?
It's like a classic case of being drawn to the wrong kind of love. Andrew represents that intoxicating first love feeling. It's full of passion and drama. But it's a love that's ultimately based on manipulation and control. And we see that play out in heartbreaking detail throughout the chapters that you picked out.
Right. And in chapter 9, we see Zoey grappling with these conflicting emotions. She's drawn to Max, her track coach, who represents a completely different kind of love. One based on respect, shared interests, and a genuine connection. But at the same time, she's still clinging to the wreckage of her relationship with Andrew.
It's like she just can't let go of the intensity of that first love, even though it's so clearly toxic.
And it's interesting how the author uses the setting of Bellwood, this idyllic small town, to highlight the contrast between these two relationships. Andrew kind of embodies the darker side of Bellwood, the secrets, the betrayals, the hidden pain beneath this surface of perfection.
Yeah, it's like a facade. And then there's Max. He represents this possibility of healing and a genuine connection. He's associated with nature, with these open spaces, with a sense of freedom and authenticity that contrasts so sharply with the claustrophobic intensity of Zoe's relationship with Andrew.
It's like the town itself becomes a metaphor for the emotional landscape that Zoey is navigating, this pull between the familiar comfort of a toxic relationship and the terrifying yet liberating possibility of something new.
Then healthier.
It's scary but exciting all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that tension really comes to a head in chapter 12 when Zoey receives those late-night texts from Andrew. He's trying to lure her back in. It's a pivotal moment because she almost caves, but then something shifts.
She remembers Liz's strength, her decision to walk away from a toxic marriage, and it gives her the courage to say no. It's a small victory, but such a significant one.
I agree. It's the first step towards Zoey recognizing her own worth and taking control of her own narrative. She's starting to break free from the pattern of seeking validation from someone who's clearly incapable of giving it to her. And it opens up the possibility for her to explore a different kind of love with Max.
Yeah.
A love that's built on mutual respect and genuine connection, not manipulation and drama.
Exactly. It's interesting to see how that theme of self-worth plays out in different ways for each sister. While Zoe's starting to break free from this toxic relationship, Liz is grappling with a different kind of challenge, those societal expectations surrounding marriage and motherhood.
We see this really clearly in Chapter 13. When Liz is apartment hunting, she decides to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, even though it's just for her, because she's holding out hope that Zoey will move in.
Yeah.
But there's this deeper layer to her decision-making.
Oh, absolutely. Liz is struggling with the idea of moving back home to her mother's house. She sees it as a failure, not just personally, but also how society would view it.
Yeah. It's like she's internalized this message
Yeah.
that a woman's worth is tied to her marital status and her ability to maintain a traditional family structure.
And the author really skillfully portrays that conflict through Liz's thoughts and actions. She's torn between the need for support and the desire to prove her independence.
And then there's Cecilia, the eldest sister. She's successful, driven, but also incredibly guarded, especially when it comes to her relationship with their father.
Yeah, she definitely keeps her walls up.
For sure.
In Chapter 25, we see her clashing with Liz over that whole apartment situation. Cecilia thinks Liz is being impractical, but it's more than that. Cecilia's reaction, it comes from her own unresolved issues with their father's past infidelity and how that led to the breakdown of their family.
It's like she's projecting her own pain and resentment onto Liz.
Yeah.
Almost as if she's saying, see, this is what happens when you prioritize love and family over practicality and independence.
Oh, for sure. And that unresolved trauma, it really comes to the forefront in chapters 39, 48, and 49. As Cecilia navigates her relationship with Evie, she's drawn to Evie's warmth and free spirit, but she's also terrified of being vulnerable and letting someone in.
Makes sense. Given her family history, it's like she's built up these walls to protect herself from getting hurt again.
And what's so compelling about Cecilia's journey is that she doesn't just have this sudden breakthrough forgiveness for her. It's this gradual, messy process.
So true. It's a process that's further complicated by Evie's challenge in Chapter 37. Evie basically tells Cecilia that she can't truly love anyone until she forgives her father, which is a lot to process.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to hear.
Definitely.
But it forces Cecilia to confront the root of her emotional guardedness.
And that's where the brilliance of this author's writing really shines through. Instead of offering easy answers or simple resolutions, she portrays the complexities of forgiveness in this raw and honest way.
She really does.
We see Cecilia wrestling with her anger, her resentment, her desire to let go,
Yeah.
but also her fear of repeating the past. It's a process that so many people can relate to, especially those who have experienced betrayal or trauma
Yeah.
within their own families.
And the book doesn't shy away from the fact that forgiveness isn't just about the person who hurt you. It's also about forgiving yourself for holding on to the pain, for letting it define you.
That brings us to this really interesting parallel between Cecilia and Zoey. While Zoey is learning to forgive herself for staying in that toxic relationship, Cecilia is learning to forgive herself for shutting down emotionally and pushing away love.
They're both on these journeys of self-discovery, grappling with the question of how to move forward from past hurt and create a future that aligns with their true selves.
But let's go back to Zoey for a moment. Remember that incredibly charged moment in Chapter 42 at Max's party when he tells her she's welcome in his bedroom anytime. It's a turning point in their relationship.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It marks a shift.
Yeah.
From playful banter and this unspoken attraction to something more explicitly romantic and intimate. And it's significant that this moment happens after Zoey has confronted Andrew and started to reclaim her sense of self-worth.
Right. It's like she's finally ready to open herself up to the possibility of a healthy, fulfilling relationship with someone who respects and values her. And their first kiss, which happens in Chapter 49. It's so beautifully written.
It is. It's tender, passionate, and filled with a sense of relief. It's a culmination of Zoey's emotional journey, her decision to walk away from that toxic relationship, her willingness to confront her own insecurities, and her gradual opening up to the possibility of love with Max.
And their connection really blossoms in those later chapters. In Chapter 42, they have that easy, comfortable conversation at the cafe. where Max remembers Zoe's drink order. It's such a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the depth of their connection.
Right. It's such a contrast to the drama and manipulation that characterized Zoe's relationship with Andrew. With Max, there's a sense of ease, mutual understanding, and a shared appreciation for the simple joys of life.
And then in chapter 49, we see them finally giving in to their attraction. The author portrays their intimacy with such a beautiful blend of passion and vulnerability. It shows how Zoey is able to experience love and desire again after the heartbreak with Andrew.
It's a testament to the healing power of genuine connection and the importance of finding someone who sees you, accepts you, and celebrates you for who you truly are.
And speaking of healing and acceptance, Liz's journey in these later chapters is equally compelling. In chapter 30, she has that steamy encounter with Spencer, the hot bookstore dad she met earlier in the book.
Oh, yeah. Their connection is electric, full of witty banter and undeniable chemistry.
Right.
But Liz is still grappling with the emotional fallout of her separation from Julian and the societal expectations that weigh heavily on her.
It's like she's torn between the possibility of new love and the fear of judgment and failure. And then, of course, there's the bombshell reveal in chapter 37, Liz is pregnant.
Talk about a game changer. This unexpected pregnancy throws her world into chaos. She has to confront her feelings for both Julian and Spencer and make some really tough decisions about her future.
It's like the pregnancy becomes this catalyst for her to finally break free from the first love myth and to define what love and happiness truly mean to her on her own terms.
I love that.
Me too.
And her decision to tell both Julian and Spencer about the pregnancy, even though it's not Spencer's child, well, it's a testament to her honesty and her desire for transparency.
It's like she's saying, I'm not going to hide or pretend anymore. I'm going to own my choices.
Yeah.
Even if they're messy and complicated.
That's so powerful.
And the reactions are so telling. Julian, true to form, is emotionally distant and focused on logistics, while Spencer offers unconditional love and support despite the complicated circumstances.
It's a stark contrast that really highlights the fundamental differences between these two men and their capacity for emotional intimacy.
And ultimately, it leads to Liz's decision to divorce Julian in chapter 49. Her declaration is heartbreaking, but also empowering. It's clear that she still cares for Julian, but she recognizes that they're no longer compatible partners.
It's such a tough realization.
It is. And her commitment to co-parenting their daughter in a healthy and supportive way is admirable. It shows a level of maturity and self-awareness that's truly inspiring.
Absolutely. And the fact that she chooses to tell Julian in person, even though it's so emotionally challenging, speaks to her strength and her willingness to face her fears head on.
It's such a powerful moment of growth, and it sets the stage for a new chapter in Liz's life, one where she's free to create a future that aligns with her true desires and values.
And then there's that beautiful scene at the end of chapter 49, where Spencer shows up at Liz's apartment, offering his support and congratulations after the birth of her daughter.
Oh, I love that scene.
It's so tender and heartwarming, full of unspoken promises and the possibility of a future together.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that unfold slowly, organically, built on a foundation of friendship, respect, and shared values.
And speaking of second chances, let's circle back to Cecilia. Her journey in these later chapters is all about confronting her past, letting go of resentment, and opening herself up to the possibility of forgiveness and healing.
In chapter 42, after that series of emotional ups and downs with Evie, Cecilia finds herself reflecting on her relationship with her father. She's still hurt and angry about his past betrayal, but there's also this glimmer of understanding and compassion starting to emerge.
It's like she's finally able to see him as a flawed human being, someone who made mistakes, rather than simply as the villain in her life story.
That shift in perspective is crucial because it opens up the possibility for forgiveness, not just for her father, but also for herself.
Right, exactly.
And then there's that incredibly poignant scene in chapter 49 where Cecilia tells Liz that she's happy for their father and his new love, Robin. It's such a huge step for her, a sign that she's finally letting go of the bitterness and resentment that have been weighing her down for so long.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful example of how forgiveness can ripple outwards, healing not just the individual, but also their relationships with others.
And her decision to return Evie's belongings, even though they've broken up, is another sign of her growth. It's a mature and compassionate act. And it suggests that she's starting to understand the importance of taking responsibility for her actions and acknowledging the hurt she's caused.
It's a reminder that forgiveness isn't always about reconciliation. or getting back together. Sometimes it's about finding peace within yourself and letting go of the past so you can move forward with a lighter heart.
And that leads to a really interesting development at the end of chapter 49. Robin moves in with Cecilia and Liz's father, and she brings Liz with her.
What a twist. It's a surprising turn of events that really highlights the evolving family dynamics and the unexpected ways in which life can unfold.
It's like the author saying that families are constantly changing and growing, and that even the most strained relationships can find a path towards healing and reconciliation.
And the arrival of Liz's newborn daughter at the end of the book adds another layer of complexity and hope to this evolving family portrait.
It's such a beautiful symbol of new beginnings, the cyclical nature of life, and the enduring power of family ties, even when those ties are messy and unconventional.
And it's fascinating how the author uses this concept of home to reflect the emotional journeys of each sister. For Liz, home becomes the symbol of independence and self-sufficiency.
We see that so clearly in chapter 13. When she's hesitant to move back in with her mother, she sees it as taking a step backward, a sign that she hasn't truly made it on her own.
Right. It speaks to those societal pressures that women often face, this expectation to be strong and independent and self-reliant, even when they're going through tough times.
But contrast that with Zoey's experience. In chapter 39, she actually chooses to move back into her father's house, even though it's full of memories of Andrew and their tumultuous relationship.
That's so interesting. For Zoey, home isn't about running from the past. It's about finding comfort and support within the familiar, even if those familiar spaces are associated with some pain.
Yeah. It's like she's reclaiming that space, redefining it as a place of healing and growth, rather than letting it be defined by the heartbreak she went through there.
Exactly.
And then there's Cecilia. Her journey with home is all about breaking free from the past and creating a new path.
Her initial resistance to moving back to Ardina, which we see in chapter 25. Well, it says a lot about her need to separate herself from the pain and disappointment of her childhood home.
But as she starts to heal her relationship with her father and embrace her love for Evie, she starts to see Ardina in a new light.
It's almost like she can finally separate the physical place from all that emotional baggage she's been carrying around for so long.
Right. And that allows her to see the potential for creating a new kind of home in Ardina, one that's built on love, acceptance, and genuine connection.
It's like the author saying that home isn't just a physical place, it's more of a state of mind, a feeling of belonging and acceptance that we create within ourselves, no matter where we are.
And it's not just home that has a deeper meaning in the book. The concept of second chances is woven throughout the whole story. And it's not always about romantic love.
Right.
Liz gets a second chance at motherhood. Zoey gets a second chance at friendship with Claire after they're falling out over Andrew. And Cecilia gets a second chance to rebuild her relationship with her father.
And what's interesting is that these second chances, they don't come easy. They're not these guaranteed happy endings.
Yeah, they come with their own set of challenges.
Yeah.
With a baggage, with the need to confront past hurts.
Yeah.
And make tough decisions.
Exactly. But they do offer the possibility of redemption, growth, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and what's around us.
I think that's what makes this book so relatable and compelling. It just feels so real. It doesn't shy away from the messiness of life or the complexities of relationships and the fact that there just aren't any easy answers.
I completely agree. And I think the author's portrayal of forgiveness is particularly nuanced and thought-provoking. Cecilia's struggle to forgive her father for his affair. Well, it's a powerful reminder that forgiveness isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. It takes patience, empathy, and a willingness to let go of anger and resentment.
And Liz's journey of forgiveness, both towards Julian and herself, highlights the importance of putting your own emotional well-being first, even if it means making hard choices that could disappoint or hurt other people.
I think it's so important to remember that forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay or forgetting about the past. It's about finding a way to move forward with compassion and understanding, both for ourselves and for those who have hurt us.
It's definitely not a straight line to get there. There are setbacks, moments of doubt and anger, but in the end, the journey towards forgiveness is about finding peace within yourself.
Beautifully said. And the book's ending with all three sisters together at the hospital to celebrate the birth of Liz's daughter. It's a beautiful testament to the transformative power of love and forgiveness.
It's such a powerful image of a family coming back together despite their past hurts and differences, to welcome a new generation.
And it leaves the reader with the sense of hope that even the most broken relationships can heal and find their way back to wholeness.
This deep dive into the first love myth has been a journey into love, betrayal, forgiveness, and the power of family.
We're so glad you joined us. We hope you gained some new insights into the characters and their relationships.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What moments from these chapters stood out to you? Which sister's journey did you connect with the most? Share your favorite quotes, your insights, and your own experiences with love, betrayal, and forgiveness down in the comments below.
And remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Keep reading, keep thinking, and keep exploring the depths of human experience through the power of great storytelling.
Until next time, happy reading.